maybe we don't have, some of those issues, in the future. It's nice to see Will Anderson be the SEC Player of the Week again. I think, this is a great opportunity for our team to be in the SEC championship game. They worked hard all year for it. They're going to play a great team in Georgia. Georgia's the number one team in the country. They've been the most consistent team, all year long in terms of how they've sustained their performance and played at a high level, dominated the competition just about every game that they've played. I think that's, a reflection of Kirby. He's done a great job. They have, a mature team that plays with a lot of competitive character. And, they're the number one defense in the country. They've got a lot of good players on defense. They've had a lot of create a lot of negative plays, sack, pressure the quarterback, tackles for loss. And, their offense has been very, very efficient. They're scoring 40 points a game. Quarterbacks played outstanding football for them. He's one of the leading pass efficiency guys, in the country. They're able to run the ball with great balance. They've got two great running backs that both contribute equally. And, they got really good skill players outside. 19 is really a good tight end. Is actually the leading receiver on the team, and a very athletic guy who creates a lot of mismatch issues for you in the passing game. They're great. They're very good on special teams. This is a complete team, and it'll be a tremendous challenge for our players to, play well. That's obviously the goal, and we got to have the right mindset and good preparation, all week long to be able to do that.
We'll start with Nick Kelly.
You talked post-game some of the issues on the O-line. What are some of the things you feel are correctable up front in pass protection and run blocking?
I think we got to play more physical. I think we got to be more aggressive in terms of, how we come out of our hips, play with power, whatever it is. We got to try to dictate, when we're in the run game and get moving. We did a better job of that in the second half. And we got to give our players, a good chance with some advantage runs when we do try to run the ball. So pass protection was an issue at times, but, we just got to do a better job of, staying square. Quarterback's got to do a good job in the pocket so that, the O-line knows where he's going to be. So there's a lot of things that, we need to work on when it comes to pressures. We got to have a good plan for how we block them. And, there's a lot of things that I think we're capable of improving. And I have a lot of confidence that the players will go about it the right way to try to get that done this week.
We'll go to Michael Casagrande.
Yeah, what makes this Georgia defense unique in 2021 in a era of offense, era of college football dominated by offensive football?
Well, I think they've been very good on defense for several years. They were very good on defense last year, too. They got a lot of the guys back that are experienced, in that regard. They play a good system. They have a good scheme. They're well coached, and they have really good players. And they play hard. I mean, they play with, a lot of toughness. They're fast reactors. They're very instinctive. So, they got a combination of a good scheme and really good, well coached, and a lot of good players who make a lot of plays by playing, sort of team defense. They don't mess up a lot. They do what they're supposed to do, and they're pretty confident in the way they do it.
We will go to Aaron Suttles.
Without knowing Brian Robinson's availability this week, have you ever been in a situation where you're down to one scholarship running back, and what sort of challenges does that create through the week in practice up until game time?
Well, to answer your question, the first part is no. The second part is, we have to coach the players that we have, and we got to get them ready to play the game. There's nothing else we can do about that. Injuries are part of the game. I don't ever like to see any player, not be able to compete, especially when they've had a great year all year long and probably want to play in this game because of that. So, but as a coach, you just have to coach the players and try to get the players ready that you have available to play in the game, and have confidence in them and try to do the things that they can do well to help the team.
Next, we will go to Charlie Potter. Charlie, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, Coach. When you guys were recruiting Will Anderson, what's maybe the biggest thing that stood out to you when you were evaluating him as a prospect?
Oh, we loved Will Anderson in high school. We had great size. You could see the initial quickness, explosive power. We didn't know for sure if he'd end up being a stand-up player or end up playing down. He kind of does both for us now and does both very well. So he's certainly been everything that we thought he would be. And I think that's because of the kind of person he is, the kind of competitive character he has, the leadership qualities that he has. Now, the guy's always trying to get better.
We'll go to Jeff Spiegel.
Yeah, Nick, you've had 3 SEC games in a row that were really close games. What does that say about how battle-tested your team is, and how important is that going into a game like this?
I can't answer the second part of that question. I think the key to the drill is you got to try to win every play when you play in games like this, and you got to keep battling for 60 minutes in the game. You hear the old adage, play one play at a time, but I think that's probably more important, in games like this than, any games that you play. We've had to do that several times. Does that help us? I really don't know the answer to that. Hopefully our players can stay focused and, play one play at a time and play the next play, whether we had a good play or a bad play, so that we can try to play with the utmost consistency possible in the game and not get frustrated, keep our poise, and, sort of show the same kind of resiliency that we've had to show, this latter part of the season.
We'll go to John Zener.
Kind of along the same lines, what does it say about your offense that y'all kept, they kind of kept battling and finally got going late in the game after struggling, knowing you're going to face some adversity facing this defense?
Yeah, well, it is what it is. I mean, we need to execute better. We need to create more positive down and distance situations for ourselves. We can't have as many negative plays, which is what this defense thrives on relative to, their pressure and the way they do things, up front. So we it's going to be difficult to continue to kind of overcome those circumstances. The best way to overcome them is not allow them to happen to start with, because you execute and the players are confident in, who they have to block, what they have to do, and knowing that the other team's got really good players, you're going to have to play the best you can all year, best you have all year.
Go to Stuart Mandel.
Nick, another Will Anderson question. It's traditionally been very hard, if not impossible, for a defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy, because you just, you don't see them on the screen every play like you do a quarterback or running back. How would you describe to people the impact he has had for you guys, and, how important he has been for you this season?
Well, I think he's been one of the most productive players in college football, as a defensive player. He's done everything that we've asked him to do. He's a very consistent player. He's very disciplined in terms of doing his job, and does it with, tremendous effort and toughness. So I don't know that there's a lot of good football players out there on both sides of the ball, but he's done as much for our team as anybody ever has. And I don't know how that equates into recognition, or how you compare him to other positions, or how you compare him to other players in the country, because I don't get to see those guys all the time. But he's done as much for us as anybody could ever hope for.
We're not going to be able to get to everybody today, but we're going to finish up with Mike Griffin.
Coach, Kirby said that he simplified some things on defense. Obviously, you guys had some success last year. What do you see as some of the differences in the back of the Georgia defense from a year ago?
Well, I think that I don't know that I see a lot of differences. I think they do a really good job up front. They do a really good job in the back end. They try to disguise what they're doing. Their corners probably play off a little bit more than they play, up on people. I don't know what their plan will be against us, but I think they're outstanding, and maybe they have simplified things, but they're still really aggressive and do a lot of very, very good things that are have made them the best defense in the country.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Get to players here in just a moment.
And hello, everybody. Welcome back to yet another edition of CBS 42 Now. I'm Phil Penarski. We just heard from Alabama Crimson Tide head coach Nick Saban as he addressed the media following the Crimson Tide's big-time first overtime Iron Bowl game ever. They defeated the Auburn Tigers on Saturday in a thrilling game, and now they get set to take on the number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs in the SEC Championship on Saturday. Again, Nick Saban giving a lot of props to the Georgia Bulldogs, who have been really just dominant on the defensive side of the ball, the number 1 defense in the country, led by Kirby Smart, the former Alabama defensive coordinator. So a lot of mutual respect between them. Of course, the Crimson Tide and the Bulldogs have gone back and forth in several big-time games, including an SEC championship and even a national championship in the past few years. We are expecting to hear from Fedarian Mathis as well as John Mechie III in just a matter of moments as we, again, take you live. This is a live look at the podium in Tuscaloosa where Coach Saban just addressed the media. Of course, we will be keeping an eye on all the latest developments leading up to the game. We did get news about Brian Robinson, the star running back for the Crimson Tide. He did suffer a pulled muscle in the Iron Bowl, so it will be interesting to see if he will be able to suit up against the Georgia Bulldogs. Again, the Crimson Tide fell down a few pegs due to their performance in the latest AP poll, but again, that's not what matters at this point. It is all about the college football playoff rankings, which will be coming out tomorrow. We again hope to see Alabama vying for one of those top 4 positions as they head into the SEC championship. You'd like to have them a little bit higher up in case they are to fall to Georgia. Maybe they could sneak in as the 4th seed and take on Georgia yet again in the college football playoff. But a very big weekend for college football in general. Really, we saw Ohio State, the number 2 team in the country at that point. They had jumped Alabama. They actually lost to Michigan. We expect Michigan, who was number 5, to actually land in the top 4. And then you have Cincinnati, who has been undefeated all throughout the season. Do they deserve a seat at the table? It will definitely be an interesting college football playoff rankings on Tuesday. Again, the Crimson Tide and Auburn Tigers competed in arguably one of the most exciting Iron Bowls in recent memory. Of course, you can find all of our Iron Bowl coverage over on our website, cbs42.com, right now. And probably one of the biggest keys to the game that a lot of people weren't really talking about, or at least I was surprised didn't get a whole lot of attention from Saturday's Iron Bowl, was the fact that we saw Jamison Williams get ejected from the game due to his high hit, and of course had to be seated out. But then Ja'Cory Brooks came on, the backup wide receiver, came on and caught that game-tying touchdown as the game sort of was looking like Auburn was going to pull off one of the biggest upsets in Iron Bowl history. Thankfully, though, the Crimson Tide were able to pull it together, and we got one heck of an exciting game. No matter who you're rooting for, either Auburn or Alabama, it was one of the top games we have ever seen as far as Iron Bowls are concerned. It was the first, as I mentioned earlier, first overtime Iron Bowl in history, and we got 4 of them. And we even got to see the new overtime layout rules in actual effect in the game. So it was all very exciting. Of course, the new rules after the first overtime, both teams, of course, in the first overtime will be trying to score a touchdown, but if it remains tied after the first overtime, we go to a second overtime, and if you score a touchdown there, you must go for 2, and then following that second overtime, if it remains tied, both teams must go for 2-point conversions only until a team is pronounced victorious. So, of course, we got 4 overtimes on Saturday. Hopefully we won't have as nerve-wracking of a game on this Saturday, as it appears that Fedarian Mathis has approached the podium, so we will send you there live back to Tuscaloosa right now.
Jeff, go ahead, Jeff.
Hi, Phil. I know, I guess if you had your druthers, I mean, you'd rather win by a lot than by a small margin, but what's the benefit of having won 3 consecutive conference games and being battle tested going into a game like this Saturday?
I think for the most part, I think it shows that a lot about this team. You know, we got a lot of toughness, and we willing to fight to get what we want. So, like I said, I just feel like we got to just take all of that as for motivation to get what we need to get. You know, just keep working for what we want, and also going into this week.
Steven.
Yeah, Phil, I mean, Kool-Aid McKinstry made some big plays out there, but when you watch him in practice and when you watch him on the field, like, what kind of gives you as a defense that confidence that when he's out there, you know he's going to do his job and he's kind of asserted himself to be a playmaker?
Yeah, Kool-Aid has been well for us. You know, I'm proud of him for stepping up in a time like this when we really needed him. And I just ask of him to, you know, just continue to stepping up and you know, putting the team first and no selfish stuff. You know, just putting his pride aside and just coming on and, you know, stepping up as a young guy and just, you know, just sticking in and doing what we got to do. That's all we need him to do, and just keep rolling.
Michael. Michael.
Yes, I was wondering if you could maybe, if you had a way to characterize what it's like to play for Coach Saban. What does he bring each day? How hands-on he is? What you see from him in the time that you've been at Alabama?
You know, from the day I stepped on campus, you know, Coach Saban always preached to me that, you know, you got to work hard to get what you want. And I'm proud to say that, you know, I had a chance to, you know, just to say I played for Coach. And, you know, just one thing that I love about Coach, man, he just shows that how much the game means to him. And, you know, he loved every guy in the room. And he wanted just as bad as us. And so I don't mind going out playing for Coach any day, no matter where we at. You know, I lay it all on the line for Coach.
John.
How many things have you seen opposing offenses do to try to slow down Will? And is it kind of crazy given how much they focus on him, how many plays he has been able to still make?
Who now? Who is it?
Will Anderson.
Oh yeah. What do you say about Will? Can you repeat that?
How much do opposing offenses try? How many things do they try to slow down Will Anderson? Is it kind of crazy that he still managed to make so many plays?
Oh yeah, a lot of teams, you know, all year a lot of teams have tried to do what they want to do to try to stop Will, but you know, Will is a great player, and I think he prepared well all week, you know, for whatever comes in the game that's to be thrown at him, and I think he does a great job of competing with anything that comes his way. So Will is just a great player, man, and he's always ready for whatever. So
Nick.
Hey, Phil. obviously these last few games aren't the only times you guys have faced adversity this year. You had in the Texas A&M game, the Florida game. How have you seen the team grow, or maybe even just younger guys grow, in terms of how they've handled adversity over the course of the season?
We just always preach, never give up. I can just speak from, Saturday game. Everybody was bought in. You can feel the energy on the sideline. Nobody had their heads down. Everybody had their chin up. We was ready to go to war, when we got in that situation. So I just feel like this team has grown a lot, and it shows that how much everything means to us.
Final question, Michael.
Yeah, this game has been a lot of talk about Georgia's defense and being one of the better defenses in the last decade. Is that motivating for you guys to try to prove yourselves on a stage like that against a team like that?
Man, we just focus on going out, doing what we got to do this week, to get what we want. And that's just working hard all week long, putting all the pieces and puzzles together to get what we want.
Thank you, Phil. John Mechie will be next.
And that was big defensive tackle Fedarian Mathis for the Alabama Crimson Tide, giving his thoughts leading up to the SEC championship game for the Crimson Tide against the number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs. Of course, the Crimson Tide will have to wait until tomorrow night to figure out where they rank in the college football playoff standings, following their 4-overtime win over the Auburn Tigers. Of course, it was the first Iron Bowl to ever go into overtime. Very exciting game on Saturday. Many people still having heart palpitations from there. It appears John Mechie III has approached the podium now, so we will send you there live.
I mean, John, just watching Corey Brooks catch that touchdown pass in the fourth quarter, send the game into overtime. What was like going through everybody's mind, seeing the young man as a freshman make that type of play?
I think it's the same thing everybody's been thinking. We've been seeing how hard he's been working in practice, him bringing it every day in practice, him coming along and learning. So I think it's just a tribute to all his hard work paying off.
John?
Can you recall ever facing a defense that looked this good on film? And how confident are you guys that you can still produce no matter how well they play?
Extremely confident. I think we're concerned about ourselves more and playing our best brand of football, knowing that we're going against a really good defense. But I think for us, it's just playing our best brand of football.
Charlie?
Yeah, John, going back to Ja'Cory, just what stands out to you about his game? Maybe what impresses you and separates him from the other receivers in the room?
Definitely his size. He's a lot bigger, a bigger receiver, and just how hard he works. He's a hard worker, and just his abilities of running routes and creating space and things like that.
Jeff?
Yeah, John, Georgia's won their last 11 games by a bunch. Last 3 SEC games were really tight for you guys. I'm not going to ask you if being more battle tested is an advantage, but what is the benefit of having to scratch and claw and win those 3 games when you get into a big game like this?
I guess the benefit on that is just the experience that comes with it and being able to learn from it, being able to go back and see and just be more critical, more self-critical, and critique the games that are tighter, and just the more things to learn from them.
Steve?
John, if you could speak to Georgia's secondary, what have you seen out of tape and film prepping for this matchup?
They're really good secondary. They're really strong, really athletic, and we're just excited to go up against them.
Michael?
Is it motivating to hear how good Georgia's defense is? That they might be one of the better defenses in the last decade.
Definitely. But also I think we go up against one of the best defenses every day. So I think, just like I said, on offense, it's just playing our best brand of football.
Mike? Mike?
Yeah, thank you. When Bryce scrambles, can you talk about just what that does for you. We see so many plays that he makes off the run, and you seem to just come bursting free. How much of that is play is practiced, and how much of that is just ad lib?
Things like that definitely happen in practice. Sometimes in practice he has to scramble, and we kind of just have to fill it out. It's kind of just playing at that point. You're just out there playing. It's when things get off script, you kind of just have to improvise and go out there and just play football.
Michael.
When you watch the Georgia film of their defense, does it remind you of any team you've played this season?
I don't know if I could say it reminds me of any team. I'm not really going to compare them to any team, but they're a really good defense.
Final questions for John Mechie? Okay, thank you, John.
Thank you.